Thank you so much. The House will come to order. Today, Representative Mark Catlin of Montrose, Colorado, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile, Armagost, Bacon, Byrd, Bockenfeld is excused. Basenecker, Bottoms, Bradfield, Representative Bradfield's excused. Bradley, Brown, Catlin, Clifford, Doherty, DeGraff is excused. Degree Kennedy, Duran is excused. English is here. Epps, Evans is excused. Frizzell, Froelich, she's here. Garcia, Hamrick, Hartsook, Hernandez, Representative Hernandez is excused. Herod, Holtorf, Judah is excused. Joseph, Kipp, Leader, Lindsay, Lindstead, Luck,
Here.
Lukens, Lynch, Mabry, Representative Mabry. Mabry's excused. Marshall, Martinez, Marvin, Morrow, McCormick, McLaughlin, Ortiz. Rep. Ortiz is excused. Parenti, Puglisi, Minority Leader Puglisi. No. It's excused. Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Root now. Sirota, Snyder, Soper, Story, Taggart, Titone, Valdez A, Velasco, Rep. Velasco is excused. Vigil, Weinberg, Weissman, Wilford, Wilson, Representative Wilson,
Excused.
Winter, AML Winter,
Excused.
Woodrow, Young, and Madam Speaker is excused.
She's going to come out. I see. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, do I need to say excused or was that the end of the list? Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah, what are the numbers? You. With 50 present and 15 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you as well.
Thank you. Members, I'd still like to start my day with God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move that the Journal of Monday, April 22nd, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions. Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Hey, members, today is Tech Day at the Capitol, and the Technology Association is here. And this is an event that presents a unique opportunity to connect with leaders in Colorado technology sector and gain valuable perspectives on the role of technology in shaping our state's future. So if you see some people roaming around and they may look nerdy, it's probably because they are, but they're really good tech people, and you should talk to them about tech because we need to learn more about tech on the policies we have that we do here. So take a gander at that.
Representative Rutino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, in case you saw those cute little doggos outside, their names are Sweet and Penny. Make sure to pet them on your way out today. They're here because my friends from Friends of Retired Greyhounds are here, who since 2001 have found homes for thousands of greyhounds and brought them home to Colorado families, including dogs that were originally race dogs at the Mile High Greyhound Park, which is now the Greyhound Park neighborhood in Commerce City. Make sure to pet them on the way out, and if you can join me in giving a hand to my friends on the side here.
Representative Weissman.
Morning, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I don't have any cute fuzzy critters. I just have an announcement about Judiciary Committee. Namely, we are meeting at 1:30 in the Old State Library to hear 5 bills in this order: Senate Bill 11, House Bill 1455, House Bill 1461, House Bill 1459, and last House Bill 1460. See you there.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I am announcing that I have been given an excused absence for tomorrow afternoon.
Representative Kipp.
Oh,
We could cast a vote on that if you'd like, Representative McCormick. Representative Kipp.
Thank you, Energy Environment members. Listen up. There are no Energy Environment meetings this week.
Representative English, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem.
Like Brandy Bradley at the well. You say don't cry all the time at the well. Okay. Stop it.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all on both sides of the aisle for showing up for me in this time of loss, because the loss of my mom, it was unexpected, and it's going to take me some time to get to a new normal, because this is not something that you can turn on and off. So I thank you in advance for your grace, and I thank you for showing up for me and my family in tremendous ways. And because this was so unexpected, it has really thrown me and my siblings for a loop. But I just want to share something really quick, really phenomenal about my mom. She was a servant in her community before, she got older and her knees became bad. And I went home last year. She had a knee replacement and some different things going on, but still this was unexpected. And my mom taught me how to persevere, be tenacious, and she taught me hard work and consistency is key to being successful. And so I'm grateful that my mom was here and she was able to see me become Dr. Regina English. And she was also able to see me become the first Black woman to represent my House district. And I am because she was. And May 14th, this upcoming May, I was supposed to go home and be with my mother for Mother's Day. And me and my sister and I, we had this whole plan. And the mayor of Battle Creek, Michigan, where I'm from, Mayor Mark Binky, he had plans to give me the key to the city for my service to the state of Colorado and for representing the city of Battle Creek with integrity and class. So when he heard that my mom had prematurely passed away, he said that he would come to my mom's service and he would present the key to me, to the city at my mom's service, because I still wanted my mom to be there. And along with a key to the city comes a proclamation. And instead of giving me the proclamation, he gave, I'm not gonna read it, but he gave my mom this proclamation. And so now, officially on April 11th in the city of Battle Creek, it's Alice Geneva Nichols Day, which is my mom. Thank you, thank you. So my siblings and I were planning to go back every year on this day and create a space for young people. My mom was really passionate about helping young people. She was a beautician. She taught young people how to do hair. She was actually my Brownie troop leader. And then as I progressed, she was my Girl Scout leader. My mom was the president of the PTA. She was that mama. And I know that's why I'm that mama today, because of the values she instilled in me. And this is the key that the mayor of Battle Creek gave me to the city. And I dedicate this to my mom. And again, I thank you all, and I appreciate the love and support you've shown to me and my family in this time of need. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. You're amazing. Thank you. Need help? No, I got it.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Representative English. I have one announcement. Representative Marvin will replace Representative Judah on the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee for today only. Are there any other announcements and introductions? Representative Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It's always an honor to have folks from your district and from up north. Not everybody is actually from my district, but a good part of them. But we've got a bunch of folks that have come down to learn what we do here. They're making sure that we're actually working. So that's good. So I'd like to welcome the folks from Larimer County.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more. Representative Bottoms. And all, remember, we're still using the sign-up sheets. I only had 3 sign-ups, so I'm going to try to get us back in the habit for 2.5 weeks. Representative Bottoms.
I apologize for not signing up.
It's not just you. I didn't mean to single you out. Please proceed.
So I am saying that I'm going to be absent tomorrow, but I also wanted to mention the reason. My daughter is becoming a licensed minister within our fellowship, and I'm a proud father.
Congratulations. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move that the following bills be made special orders on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, at 9:24 a.m.
I'm so sorry, Majority Leader. I just realized we still need to read some committee reports.
Oh,
My apologies. Mr. Schiebel.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bills 1024 as amended, 1050 as amended, 1059, 1095 as amended, 1108 as amended, 1153, 1217 as amended, 1320 as amended, 1326 as amended, 1327, 1364 as amended, 1370 as amended, 1371, 1379 as amended, 1382 as amended, 1431 as amended, 1432 as amended, and Senate Bills 3, 10, 18, 20, 169, and 188 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. And House Bill 1054 be amended as followed, and also amended be referred to the Committee on Legislative Counsel with favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move the following bills be made special orders on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024 at 9:25 a.m. House Bill 1437, House Bill 1452, House Bill 1278, House Bill 1300, House Bill 1384, House Bill 1173, House Bill 1050, House Bill 1051, and House Bill 1327.
Seeing no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be made special orders on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024 at 9:25 a.m. Representative Joseph. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Joseph will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading of bills at length. Committee reports are printed in your bills folder. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader, and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 24-1437.
House Bill 1437 by Representatives Weissman and Duran, also Senators Fields and Michelson-Janae, concerning prohibiting a municipality from using specified payment structures for indigent defense services under certain circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Shebo. Members, please, we cannot hear over here. Rep. Weissman, thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We move House Bill 1437 and the committee report from Judiciary.
To the Judiciary Committee report, Rep. Weissman.
Thank you. We did two things in the Judiciary Committee, two different simple amendments. They're both rolled up here. One was simply to change the effective date, giving another 6 months for entities involved here to come into compliance. The other, because this is a bill talking in various ways that we'll get into about flat fees. In this context, as we added a definition of that. That definition is patterned closely on the definition of a flat fee from Rule 1.5 of the Colorado Rules of Professional Conduct for attorneys.
Is there any further conversation to the Judiciary Committee report? Rep. Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's an honor to serve with you.
It is truly an honor to serve with you.
Members, I supported this bill in House Judiciary Committee. I certainly do not believe that flat fees, particularly in areas of criminal prosecution or defense, is appropriate. Certainly there's some ethical issues that both the American Bar Association and Colorado Bar Association have spoken against. Rule 1.5 also goes to that. However, I just wanted to make sure that this did not take into the net of collection salaries. And in having consulted with an employment attorney, there is a possibility that it could be construed as such. So I move Amendment L003 and ask that it be properly displayed.
Thank you. L003 has been moved and properly displayed to the amendment. Rep. Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this amendment is, as I talked about, just to make sure that flat fees, there's no way that anyone could construe this as being tied in with a salary or being paid on a salary basis. It's adding belts and suspenders.
Rep. Weissman?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So members, at the risk of jumping a little bit ahead of the substance, there's essentially three different compensation structures that we talked about in committee. One is what we call the salary basis, and that's okay. Another is an hourly basis, that's okay. Another is a flat basis. That's what we're trying to say is not okay in these limited contexts here. We did talk about this in committee. We've talked about it additionally since then. The point of this amendment to the committee report is just to be really clear that one of the things we're trying to say is okay, namely salary doesn't inadvertently get rolled up in what we're saying is not okay, namely flat structure. My colleague from Delta and I have discussed, we've both talked to lawyers that we know and trust. This is one of these situations where reasonable attorneys might differ. Willing to accept this amendment for clarity. I'm not positive it's necessary, but as was noted, belts and suspenders, I think the point and the intent is what matters most in these questions of indigent defense being provided for somebody in a DV case in a municipal court, where that indigent defense is provided in a salary basis, that's okay. Flat is not, salary is. This is another way in this amendment of trying to make that a bit more clear. So we'd ask for a yes vote on the amendment to the committee report.
Is there any further discussion to L003? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L003. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. L003 is adopted. To the bill, to the committee report, Judiciary Committee report. Rep. Weissman.
Thank you. No further amendments to the committee report. We just ask for your yes vote on the committee report.
Are there any further discussions to the Judiciary Committee report? The question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The Judiciary report passed. To the bill, ML Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As many of you know, I am a survivor of domestic violence and have my lived experience fuels policy that is critical to support crime victim survivors. Last year, myself and Rep. Weissman ran another bill that ensured accountability and streamlined the process for domestic violence cases in municipal courts. This bill is another necessary step to ensure survivors have a clear and professional court process. Flat fees and domestic violence are a harmful combination. Flat fees discourage lawyers from doing necessary work on more complex cases and risks attracting the lowest bidders rather than the most qualified attorneys. Prohibiting flat fees will provide survivors with the professionalism, timelessness, and increased certainty that comes from strong indigent defense. And I ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Rep. Weissman.
Thanks, Madam Chair. You know, members, as just noted, this is the second bill that I've done with the ML in 2 years to try to make sure that we have good minimal standards for how domestic violence cases are handled in municipal court. Last year was to make sure that there is full VRA compliance. This year is to conform certain details of how indigent defense is provided. When you are in the state court system, it's basically one of two ways. It might be a salary basis, that's OSPD. It might be an hourly basis, that's the alternate defense counsel. What we're saying here is that things should proceed similarly in municipal courts, among the relatively small number of municipal courts that do these cases. Some are already compliant, some may not be. That's part of why the committee report changed to allow more time for conformance. We think that there are multiple interests in robust defense in the first instance, obviously the accused, but frankly also prosecution, community, and survivor, because nobody benefits from dispositions that are destabilized later on by questions of ineffective assistance or collateral attack or just a higher frequency of appeal or anything like that. So this is about just robustness in the criminal legal system at the municipal court level because, as noted, domestic violence offenses are serious and should be treated that way, and we ask for your yes vote.
Is there any further discussions? Rep. Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In hearing the bill in committee, the only real concerns I had were this is covering 4 municipal courts that are currently doing this, and that's Aurora, Denver, Lakewood, and Westminster. Each of them handles indigent cases differently, so the ongoing flat fee rates are anywhere from $95 to $105 based on the type of case. I think the hard part of this is changing these costs will put a lot of extra burdens on the municipalities to regulate it. I don't think that what you're charging or what you're paying somebody is going to really motivate them to do better on indigent cases and defending them. So removing the flat fee is not going to do that. I think keeping a flat fee there is something where everyone gets the same access, the same cost. This is something that even speaks to equity. I don't think there's a need for having a variable cost for different people when you're arguing the same cases. The other thing in this is I think if this was more focused on the victim aspect, I would have a different outlook on it. But when we're talking about the people that are charged in this and they're finding defense, I don't see why there would be any variation in cost for somebody that's seen as indigent when the ongoing flat fee rate is anywhere from $95 to $105 an hour. So this is something that I think is unnecessary, and that's why I was a no in committee and I will be a no today.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1437? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1437 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1437 as amended is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move House Bill 1384 up for consideration.
House Bill 1384 has been moved for consideration. Rep. Byrd. Oh, sorry, Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1384.
House Bill 1384 by Representatives Byrd and Sirota, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning applying for federal grants related to certified community behavioral health clinics.
Representative Byrd.
So I move House Bill 1384 and the Health and Human Services Committee report.
To the Health and Human Services Committee report.
I would like to I move Amendment L003 and ask that it be appropriately and properly displayed.
L003 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, this is an additional amendment that we worked with different providers in the mental health community. I know that there were some concerns about making sure that we were recognizing all kinds of providers, and that as we move forward with application for the CCBHC Development and Planning Grant, that we were not doing anything to inadvertently not include those providers in the stakeholdering process, and also to make sure that anything that we apply for contemplates their role in provision of mental health services. So we want to make sure that those concerns are honored and reflected in the bill, and we ask for your yes vote.
Is there any further discussion to L003? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L003. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The L003 is adopted. To the committee report. Rep. Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L005 to the committee report and ask that it be displayed.
L005 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a minor technical correction. Nobody partied. We just need to say parties. Thank you to our colleague who caught this. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussions to L005? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of L005. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. L005 is passed. To the committee report. Rep. Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members, for your support on those amendments. So in the Health and Human Services Committee, we had a robust conversation about the certified community behavioral health clinic model, and really wanted to make clear, heard back from, different providers of mental health services, and we wanted to honor their concerns. So we amended our bill to ensure that the application and planning development grant that we are applying for is developed in collaboration with stakeholders to include providers, consumer advocates, state agencies. We also are requiring that our application must demonstrate that the planning grant is in the best interests of our state, and we do that by identifying a multiple of different metrics to measure that by, which I think are very helpful, including making sure that all geographic regions of the state are served by mental health providers and that we are not locked into one type of mental health provider system. So we ask for your yes vote.
Is there any discussions to the Health and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Health and Services Committee report passes. To the bill, Rep. Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, in 2022, Colorado set out on an ambitious goal to improve access to behavioral and mental health care services through this legislature's creation of the Behavioral Health Administration. The goal of the BHA, as you know, is to ensure that all people in our state have access to quality mental health and substance use disorder services, regardless of where they live or their ability to pay. This is an important goal that requires appropriate funding to be achieved. And we know that for the BHA model to succeed, we must find a sustainable funding source. I speak to you as the chair of your Joint Budget Committee and letting you know that we are committed to honoring the mission and goals of the BHA, but we know that it needs more funding than our state currently has available. And to that end, that is why we are bringing House Bill 1384 before you today. The federal government has a program through which it certifies providers that provide a comprehensive range of mental health and substance use disorder services to include vulnerable individuals. In return, these providers will receive an enhanced Medicaid reimbursement rate that's based on their anticipated costs of expanding services to meet the needs of these complex populations. Our bill sets us on a path to obtain these funds by directing the BHA to apply for the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for a planning and development grant. The grant will help us figure out if this is the right path forward for Colorado, and if it is, this presents an incredible opportunity for us to draw down much-needed federal funds.
Rep. Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One thing I would like members to understand about the CCBHC program is that it aligns very well with the reforms that we already enacted in 2022 with the BHA bill, so that participating providers have to serve individuals with serious mental illness and other priority populations for the state of Colorado. Providers meet requirements for timely access to care, cultural competency, and meaningful participation in governance by individuals with lived experiences and their families. Providers may not deny anyone services based on ability to pay or where they live. The program has rigorous care coordination requirements and requires value-based prospective payments. And all of these and the other CCBHC requirements, they do align very well with the definitions and expectations that have already been written into law for our current comprehensive providers. This designation is open to a variety of providers. It's not limited to a provider type, nor does the program limit the number in a given area. So, for example, we have our flagship safety net hospital, Denver Health, is currently designated as a CCBHC, as is on the other side of my district, Aurora Mental Health and Recovery, a community mental health center, and I have seen firsthand the tremendous work and value that these CCBHCs bring to our communities and our constituents. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for this planning grant, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussions? Rep. Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, Rep. Holtorf.
Thank you. That's the wrong microphone. Thank you. So as the ranking member in Health and Human Services, I feel obligated every time a bill comes before the committee that my caucus votes against to explain our position. I do that out of professional courtesy. I know that some people appreciate it. I know that others do not, and I do understand. So I do want to mention a couple of points of contention and concern with this bill that came up in committee, and I think it's relevant for the chamber to know. The first problem that we have at the federal level, we have a $35 trillion deficit. Now, if you look at the premise of this bill, the desire and intent is to pull down federal funds that, yes, are offered through the Health and Human Services Program at the federal level. But here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue to pull down more and more federal funds, we only cause more and more debt, and that also transfers to a larger deficit for our country. Now, most people don't think about this every day. States do not think about the impact that states have on the federal budget as they just wait and beg and plead for that manna from heaven. And yes, it is Passover, and I don't mean any disrespect to my friends and colleagues, but I use that as an example because we think the money just falls from the sky. Or we go and solicit it. We actually set up legislation that goes and solicits money, tells a department in this case to go solicit and go get this federal money.
Rapporteurs, it would be really kind if you stick to the bill, please.
Yes, but that's what this does. So, to wrap this up quickly, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, sir.
We had a concern as a caucus about that. So we had a very difficult time coming to a yes, so we respectfully said no. And that concludes my comments, just so my good colleagues can understand where we came from. Not that we don't want to support the behavioral health clinics or the BHA and move forward with this important work. Thank you for your time, and God bless America.
Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1384? Seeing none, the question is the adoption of House Bill 1384 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1384 as amended is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to 1452, House Bill 1452.
House Bill 1452 by Representatives Ortiz and Bacon concerning airport accessibility requirements.
Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1452.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is one of Community Living with a Disabilities priority bill. Every year, over 11,000 mobility devices are broken. People seem to misunderstand and think that you're just taking away something like a suitcase or a luggage or a belonging. Folks, this would be like the airlines breaking 11,000 legs, because not only is this our mobility, but this is our health. In fact, a few years back, when United Airlines broke someone's wheelchair, who was an advocate nationally, her name was Ingracia Figueroa, she got a pressure ulcer and then succumbed to sepsis and died from it. So what this bill right here is going to do is make sure that we secure basic access and basic rights. We're going to make the airport responsible for what they're responsible for, mainly training their own staff that interacts with community with a disability. We're going to make sure that in future contracts that they remind, whether it's a restaurant or airlines, what the law is and what they're supposed to be doing. It makes sure that we mandate adult changing stations and family accessible bathrooms in every terminal, which they currently don't have. It's going to create a portal to file complaints or violations of accessibility issues. And then it's going to create a committee made up of majority community living with a disability. We have been working with them. We will continue to work with them. The important piece here is a private right of action to enforce the tangible areas that they're in control of. This is how our civil rights are protected. I urge and I vote.
Is there any further discussion to 1452, reportees.
I move Amendment L003 and ask that it be displayed. I do. Oh, you okay?
L003 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, it's taken a while for the airport and their lawyers to take it seriously, so this amendment is based on information that we just got yesterday. One of the complaints that we hear about is that the infrastructure is not there, and so we thought the belt loaders, those belt feeders that you see coming off the airlines, in different airports, sometimes the airports own them, and they lease them to the airlines. In this case, the airlines own them. So Part 11 there eliminates making DEN responsible for the belt loaders, since that's not theirs, that belongs to United. We make sure to re-specify in parts 1 and 2 that they're only responsible and liable for training their direct staff when it comes to handling or dealing with people with a disability. And then parts 4 through 8 is that section that I spoke about where in future contracts that they have, whether it's with restaurants that lease their space or airlines, that they remind those individuals their responsibility to community living with a disability, and that the laws that protect us, I urge and I vote.
Is Rep. Bacon.
Thank you very much. I just want to again reiterate that for those of you who heard this bill in committee, we had the opportunity to further find clarification on which employees belong to which agency, whether they're the airline or the airport, and so that's what this amendment does, is provide that clarification. And again, the underlying bill still asks for compliance with 4 or 5 areas that we'll talk about with the bill. So with that, I urge an aye vote on L3.
Thank you, AML Bacon. Is there any further discussions on Amendment L003? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L003. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill, AML Bacon.
Thank you. Members, I just want to reiterate what my co-prime said. It has been an honor to work on this bill with him to address issues at our jewel of an airport that is in my district. I will say that support of 1452, for those of you who can hear this, is a real opportunity to receive and support the community that has been living with disabilities. We heard stories in committee about how someone who is bound to a wheelchair, for example, cannot get up during flight to be able to use the bathroom. And so you can imagine once they get to an airport that they still can't, because the airport is not fitted properly or to the best of its abilities to support those in wheelchairs and with disabilities. What our bill does is say you have 5 or 6 things you need to work on, including making the hallways navigable for those who have visual impairments or developmental impairments. We say that you need to create the bathrooms so that they are usable by those with disabilities, and that when you handle equipment, you understand that the equipment is an appendage. So if a wheelchair breaks, it is the equivalent of breaking legs. And it needs to be treated with the same level of scrutiny as it would be if someone did get hurt in the airport, without having been disabled. And so with that, what this bill does is hold the Denver airport and other airports that are similarly situated. I wanted to be able to say this. We named in the bill a class or a category of airports that do have hubs that are defined by federal law, that if for some reason the Colorado Springs airport becomes a spaceport, this will apply to them too. Just like the Denver airport had maybe 5 gates 30 years ago, it has so many, 40 years ago, it has so many now. So what we're saying is if you're going to provide this type of travel and at this magnitude, you must have these things done, and particularly done within a timeline that has been previously negotiated. And with that, I'd like to thank the disabled community and those who have been fighting alongside with them as allies for allowing me to partner with you on this bill. And with that, I urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussions? Rep. Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have a question for the sponsors. So in reading the bill, the way I see it, it only applies to Denver International Airport.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And it certainly looks like more special legislation when it only applies to one specific entity. And I know you just explained that if like the spaceport grows or Colorado Springs Airport grows, that it would apply to them as well. I'm just more curious how we actually are able to do a law that only applies to one business entity, not taking in all the other airports and airport authorities as well.
AML Bacon.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, and as vetted by our attorneys, we have created a class. We have not created something that particularly applies by word and law to a building, a business. And so as we have brought up these questions otherwise, I do believe someone may have asked me about a certain cigar shop in a certain, certain county, and I raised the same question, and the answer is the same. We've created a class, and that's why it remains constitutional.
Is there any further discussions to House Bill 1452? Seeing none, the question is the adoption of House Bill 1452 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1452 as amended passes. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1278 until after House Bill 1300.
1278 has been laid over until House Bill 1300. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1300.
House Bill 1300 by Representative Story and Brown, also Senator Marchman, concerning wildfire mitigation requirements in connection with the sale of a residence.
Rep. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 24-1300 and the Transportation Housing Local Government Committee report.
And the Appropriations Committee
And the
report.
Appropriations Committee report.
To the Appropriations Committee report. Rep. Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the Appropriations Committee report, we struck some language that would allow us to have no fiscal note.
Is there any further discussions to the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the Transportations Committee report, Rep. Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the Transportation Housing Local Government Committee report, we made some changes that make the bill permissive for the affected counties and all counties and municipalities that would choose to participate, and also provided some additional definitions.
Is there, Rep. Story?
Yes, and we also move an amendment to the Transportation, actually we have two amendments to the Transportation Housing Local Government Committee report.
Is there any further discussions to the, oh, she has an amendment.
Here, sorry. Oh, you do it. Okay.
We move L013 and L014.
One at a time.
Oh, I'm sorry. We move L013.
Thank you. L013 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Brown.
Oh, sorry.
Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. L13 makes some technical changes with some phrases and words that we needed to update and make more accurate, and then also addresses adding in some additional options for standards.
Is there any further discussions on Amendment L013? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment. Rep, please go ahead. Rep. Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question for the bill sponsors. Does this affect the municipalities, the counties? Kind of what's the implication for local government? Just quickly.
Rep. Brown.
Thank you, thank you to my colleague from Akron for the question. I really appreciate that. This amendment really makes sure that the standards that we're using in the bill conform with Forest Service standards and some of the best practices. So it does not affect the counties or the municipalities. It just really makes some changes to the definitions of various zones, and then it also makes sure that the language and anything in the bill is consistent with the WUI Code Board, or what the bill refers to as the Wildfire Resiliency Code Board.
Is there any further discussion? Rep. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just going back to that, with the amendments and this amendment included, this bill is no longer specific to any particular counties, correct?
Rep. Story.
Well, we'd kind of like to talk about this when we talk about the bill, but the amendments that are being made that we're talking about right now is really just focused on some technical changes, some vocabulary that we needed to straighten out between phase and zones, and then also options in the bill. So based on the amendment, like, we're not talking about counties or municipalities specifically at all. It's not addressing that.
Is there any further discussion to L13? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L013. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the Transportations Committee report. Rep. Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we move L14.
Thank you. L14 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment. Rep. Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment sort of continues with additional changes as L13 in that it changes some wording to make it more accurate, and again includes options in another section of the bill to include the Wildfire Resiliency Code Board, as well as updating the zone section.
Is there
Same, it's just additional section of the bill.
Thank you, sorry, Rep. Story. Is there any further discussions to L14? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L14 to the Transportations Committee report. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the Transportations Committee report. Rep. Story.
We urge an aye vote on the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report.
Is there any further discussions to the Transportations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report passes. To the bill. Rep. Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1300 is a bill that is focused by title on wildfire mitigation relative to points of sale. And we did a lot of stakeholding, had lots and lots of meetings with many stakeholders and entities out there with interest in this bill. And along the way, we made some significant adjustments to make this permissive to affected counties. And there are 12 affected counties that are named in the bill because they already have a wildfire mitigation program in place for new construction. And so we latched onto those 12 counties because they are already used to addressing wildfire mitigation within the county. Relative to new construction, this bill is focused on existing homes, and we were looking to those counties to be leaders in addressing this issue of wildfire mitigation because so many residential properties are not mitigated in affected areas within these counties. So, but along the way, as I mentioned, we made the bill permissive to those affected counties, as well as any other counties in the state that would choose to do this, or municipalities. And we do have an amendment also for the bill.
Rep. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I move L012 to House Bill 1300 and ask that it be properly displayed.
L012 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment just takes out the legislative declaration. You know, in the evolution of this bill, the legislative declaration became less relevant to the underlying bill, and so, you know, as opposed to trying to rewrite it, we just, out of expediency and in the last 2 weeks of session, we figured it would be easier to just remove it at this point. So we'd ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion to the L012? Rep. Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also agree with this. I think this is a money-saving amendment because we're going to use less ink now on the red books.
Thank you, Rep. Holtorf. Is there any further discussions to L012? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L012. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill, Rep. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all of you for giving us the opportunity to present this bill today. I also want to thank my co-prime sponsor from Jefferson County for her tireless efforts on the mitigation of our wildfire risk and making our communities more resilient. You know, in the wake of the Marshall Fire, our community has become committed to the idea of resiliency. Preventing the next Marshall Fire starts with making sure that our communities are resilient to wildfire, and this includes home hardening as well as defensible space around homes. Last year, we took an important step by creating a board to consider building codes in the wildland-urban interface. This board will make sure that our building codes are helping our communities be more resilient. This bill takes the next step, and the amendments that we've adopted today make sure that these two programs are working in concert. So we have building codes as well as codes around defensible space when a county deems it to be necessary. This bill helps to mitigate the risks in our communities by allowing counties to help even existing homes be protected. You know, wildfire mitigation and the vegetation around existing homes is really important, and giving counties the ability to create standards in their community, even for existing homes, is important. So this bill is permissive. It gives counties additional authority that will help to make our communities safer. And for that reason, we would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1300? AML Winter.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, sir.
I'm going to get up and speak in opposition to this bill. Even though it's well-intended, we're constantly talking about the housing crisis. And if counties adopt mitigation prior to sale requirements, I mean, the market will slow down. It'll slow down the real estate market, which will result in higher costs for home buyers. Like I said, we're constantly talking about the housing market, affordable housing, getting people into housing, and we keep adding red tape and requirements. Like I said, if counties do this, it will definitely slow down the market, and the home buyers will be the one paying the price of that. So for those reasons of trying to make sure we get people into homes, making homes as affordable as possible, we don't meet that goal by adding cost to home prices based on legislation like this. For that, I urge a no vote.
Rep. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions for the bill sponsors. With the number of amendments that's come through on section, so my earlier question was we eliminated this being for specific counties. Section 2A under section 3 says the Board of County Commissioners for each of the affected counties may establish an ordinance, which is great. That's the permissive part you guys are talking about. In the following section 3B, or excuse me, 2B, it says they must include certain aspects multiple times. Can you just elaborate on that? Is it's permissive for them to do it, but if they do it, they have to do it within certain requirements?
Rep. Brown.
Yeah, I think that's, so we wanted to have some basic guidelines. in the bill about the way that you would design a program at the local level. And in I think you said 2B or 2A, it says it sets specific standards. So this is so you're in 2A, is that right? Or you doing it? Yeah, so in 2A, we set specific standards that we call out specific standards that are sort of national standards, the IBHS wildfire mitigation standards and some others, but any standards that are determined necessary by the county. So the program in 2A must include a written policy and procedure for the homeowner to seek a reasonable extension for the program. So we wanted to make sure the requirement in this particular case is that a county be more forgiving of homeowners if they are trying to sell their home and they're trying to, if they have implemented this program and they're trying to sell their home, the county must include some policy and procedure so that the homeowner can seek a reasonable extension. So this must is really designed to make sure that counties have to be accommodating towards homeowners that are selling their property.
Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1300? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1300. As I say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1300 as amended passed. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill. We'll go into a 30-second recess. The committee will come back to order. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1278 until after House Bill 1173.
House Bill 1278 has been moved until House Bill, did you say 1173?
Correct.
After 1173. We will go on a brief recess. Yes. The committee will come back to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1173.
House Bill 1173 by Representative Valdez concerning expediting the process for permitting electronic motor vehicle charging systems.
Rep. Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1173 and the committee reports.
There's no committee reports on that one. Oh, it's coming. Please move, go ahead. Rep. Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the Energy and Environment Report to House Bill 1173.
To the Energy Committee report.
We made some substantial changes to the bill in Energy and Environment that basically created a statewide model code and ensured that there was an alternate path for local governments, and I would ask for an aye vote.
Is there? Is there any further discussion to the committee report? Rep. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move Amendment L018 and ask that it properly be displayed.
Thank you. L018 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Wilson.
Thank you. This is a multi-page amendment that you got on your desk a couple days ago. What it does is local governments have been asking for model codes that they could use as a resource, but those codes haven't been developed yet. We should prompt the development of those codes and allow local governments to use those codes before we mandate them so widely. Similarly, local governments have been requesting technical assistance. These things should be provided without punitive timelines or being forced to adopt codes we haven't yet seen. There's several organizations that have been working for many months on these challenges to permitting EV chargers, and they indicated the model codes would come out of that process. We still have not seen those model codes or the report of their findings. So I would ask you to support Amendment 18.
Is there any further discussion to Amendment 1-8? Rep. Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'd ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion to Amendment L018? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L018. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is lost. To the Energy and Environment Committee report, is there any further conversation or discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. Rev. Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a great bill. What's going on in Colorado right now is that we're selling approximately 200,000 cars a year, and about 17.5% of them are electric vehicles. Now, what is astounding is that we are not meeting our needs in terms of providing public places to charge, and where that's having great impacts is here across the Front Range, where we're seeing the proliferation of electric vehicles far outstrip the availability of places to charge them. When we ask about who's affected by this, it's a lot of folks, but mainly folks who live in apartment buildings and condominiums where they don't have access to high-speed charging that need to use these as part of their critical infrastructure to get to work and increasingly do work. We've seen Uber Eats, a lot of our TNCs, Uber, Lyft, you name it, a lot of them using electric vehicle fleets or renting electric vehicle fleets. We want to make sure that those folks have a place to charge. We want to make sure folks across the state have an ability to charge their car at a high rate of speed, because that's the only way people are going to be able to use long distance trips. And so what this bill does is it develops an EV charging model code based on national best practices. It's going to make that available along with technical resources to any community in the state that chooses to use it. It's going to provide data on EV permitting timelines going forward. And if a government decides not to adopt these model codes, and they will be developed by March 31st of 2025, by December 31, 2025, if they have not adopted their own model codes, if they have not adopted codes that meet national standards, at that point they would have a timeline of 30 or 60 days, depending on the size of the project, to approve or deny it. So I know it's technical. I know I can tell by all your faces it's very fun, but it's very important that we provide the charging for the vehicles that are hitting the road. And so I would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussions? Rep. Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the honor of hearing this bill in Energy and Environment Committee when I subbed onto the committee. It was very fascinating. I actually didn't realize what I was getting involved with until we were sitting there listening to it. However, there was an amendment added in committee, amendment number 12, and just really in listening to the dialogue, I realized there's actually part of what would really help those people who are going through the permitting process for an EV charger, which would be to ensure that they have timely notice so that their rights under Rule 106 are not cut short of the 28-day statute of limitations period to be able to challenge either a conditional approval or a denial. And that's something that a lot of local governments certainly struggle to do, is to give timely notice, because they do want to cut off that appeal, because you have to have that information of a decision. So that's why I move Amendment L014 and ask that it be properly displayed.
Thank you. L014 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is, as I was describing, this requires either a county or municipality to give notice of their decision to the person who's asking for permission, and I'd ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion to L041?
It's the good one.
Rev. Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. L41 is a reasonable ask that we would notify people after the approval or denial of their application, and so I would say this is a good amendment, and I would ask for an aye vote on L41.
Is there any further discussion to L41? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L41. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill, Rep. Bottom, Representative Bottom.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of things that I said in committee on this, and again, I really like EVs, and I think they're awesome. But to somehow put this in structure that we have to have these charging stations and how this works. One of the things that really came out to me in committee, I'm not an electrician, and so when the electricians got up and explained that this was really not a doable thing, that the type of ampage that you need for this eclipses anything that we have even close to a house. Normal houses are 50 amps, and then maybe you can pay extra to get a 100 amp box, but I mean, these were in the thousands and thousands of amps to accomplish this in a small apartment, and then the infrastructure to put in to just say, and again, I think this is where we as the House, we as the state are saying, okay, you guys are just going to do this. Your housing developments are just going to do this. Your apartments are just going to do this with no actual understanding of how this would work and if it's feasible. And all of the electrical groups that came in and talked about this were very concerned that this was not doable, and that this was going to, and then once somehow they got, and this is if you're doing level 3, if you're trying to do level 2 or 1, that's obviously different, but even then you're looking at shutting down the grid in the process. That we're already seeing these kind of problems in other states, and we're already seeing a little bit of issues here in Colorado when it comes to extreme weather and those kind of things and how that affects the grid. When we add this kind of load, and this is massive amounts of load when you're doing level 3, these are massive amounts of load. And the electricians were basically saying, you can't do this. You can run these laws all you want, but to try to come into a neighborhood and to do this changes the entire electrical structure of the neighborhood, and then you're not even including price that's involved. This will make the, so we're saying that this is designed for poorer groups of people so that they can have charging stations in their apartments or whatever. This will cost so much extra money to put these stations in that you're looking at rent going through the roof for this, developments having to put these structures in, housing prices will raise exponentially for this also. And supposedly this is designed so that everybody, the common person that is, and potentially even poorer, that's the way we heard it in the committee, is that poor people can have a charging station. But now you're running up their rent on top of the fact that they're going to have to buy an EV that's way more expensive than a regular car, and the only way that it's even in somewhat of a legitimate range is because it's being subsidized by the government already. And so this is going to drive prices through the roof on every single thing this touches. Everywhere this bill puts its fingers into, it is going to cost more. From the electrical to the actual stations themselves, to the apartments, to the developments, to each of the houses, every single one of these things is going to drive up costs on every single one of them. And so to somehow say that this helps the average person that can't afford or needs access, this actually does the opposite. It puts it out of reach, puts the whole thing financially out of reach, and I think pragmatically it's not possible. That's what the electrician said on that. And so I Sure, I like the electric vehicle mentality. I love the fact that we could all have charging stations, but I just don't think, it's not. It was told, this was explained to us over in committee. This is not possible. No matter how much we pass laws in this place, we still have to take into consideration whether it can be done. Or we're just forcing and mandating groups to accomplish these things are outside their reach and outside their scope. And so I would say for the average person, for the poorer person, please vote no for this. They have to have a voice in this, and today I'll be their voice.
Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1173? Rep. Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we deal with electric cars, we also want to be somewhat polite to counties, and so we've worked with the bill sponsor on this amendment that removes the requirement that the county submit a report to the Energy Office. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to move Amendment L26 to House Bill 1173 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment 26 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this just simply takes out the requirement that that really is kind of cumbersome to the counties and makes it so they don't have to report submit a report to the Energy Office describing its compliance. And I would ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion to L26? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L26. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment passes. To the bill. Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1173? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1173 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1173 as amended is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1050, 24-1050.
House Bill 1050 by Representatives Taggart and Kipp, also Senators Bridges and Van Winkle, concerning the simplification of processes related to taxes imposed by local governments and in connection therewith, requiring local taxing jurisdictions to report to the Executive Director of the Department of Revenue information on local lodging tax and building permit-related sales and use tax information, requiring the Executive Director to publish that information, modifying the scope of the Sales and Use Tax Simplification Task Force to include simplification of local lodging tax, and requiring the Sales and Use Tax Simplification Task Force to receive information related to the feasibility and implementation of the electronic portal for the collection and remittance of local lodging taxes.
Rep. Kipp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move HB 24-1050 and the Finance Report and the Appropriations Report.
To the Appropriations Committee report.
The appropriations, this morning they appropriated some money, and I ask for a yes vote.
Rep. Taggart? All right. Is there any further discussion to the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Appropriations Committee report has been adopted and passed. To the Finance Committee report, Rep. Kipp.
Thank you. In the Finance Committee, we made a couple of small adjustments, including taking out an RFI, which would have cost a bunch of money, and we don't have money, so I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion to the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The Finance Committee report passes. To the bill, Rep. Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've had some interesting pronunciations of my name, but that's one of the most interesting. I guess I'm French as compared to Scottish, but that's okay. All you have to do is put a Mac in front of that, you'll get the Scottish version of that. House Bill 1050 comes out of the Suts Sales Tax Simplification Interim Committee report. And I think we all know we have one of the most complicated sales and use tax.
Please settle, please, please. We can't hear anyone. Thank you.
We have one of the most complicated sales and use tax systems in the entire country. And what we have done to try to help retail vendors initially with this complication is to have a SUTS portal where those retailers can in fact submit their tax returns very simply with the data that's in that portal. This bill extends that to another complicated area, which is the area of sales and use tax when it comes to building permits and lodging tax for that matter. In that particular case, to add to the complications, each of our counties and municipalities have a different way of collecting those sales and use tax. In some cases, they collect it right up front. In some cases, it's ongoing with the construction of that particular project, and in some cases, it's in arrears. This then allows our municipalities and counties to, in fact, add this information into the portal to make it easier for construction companies that do business across the state in terms of knowing what sales and use taxes are, and they can accurately do their sales and use tax and lodging tax returns. The last part of this bill, or the second part of this bill, is a task force to determine if we want to add to this portal the world of lodging taxes. Because if sales and use taxes aren't complicated enough in our state, lodging taxes are equally as complicated, and we're going to look at that, or this task force is going to look at, does it make sense to add lodging taxes to this SUTS portal? And I would ask for a yes vote on this bill. Thank you.
Rep. Kipp.
Thank you, and I'll just say, some people might say extend, other people might say clarify. I think there has always been a question about whether the lodging tax already fit within the sales and use tax system. So this, I believe, is really a great clarification, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussions? Rep. Bottom.
Thank you, Chair. So usually when the representative from Grand Junction gets on a bill, I get worried because we know he's going to spend a lot of money. And now he's bringing innocent Democrats in with him. Good bill, vote yes.
Thank you, Rep. Bottoms. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1050. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1050 passes. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1278.
House Bill 1278 by Representatives Martinez and Story, also Senator Coleman, concerning the continuation of the Concurrent Enrollment Advisory Board and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendation in the Department of Regulatory Agencies 2023 Sunset Report.
Rep. Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is truly an honor to serve with you.
I move the Education Committee report.
To the Education Committee report. Oh, please move the bill first and then the Education Committee report.
I move House Bill 1278 and the Education Committee report.
Awesome. To the Education Committee report.
So we have an amendment to the Education Committee report. So I move L005 to the Education Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
L005 has been moved and properly displayed to the amendment. Rep. Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this came out, or we originally put in
a guidebook in for the Concurrent Enrollment Advisory Board, and we realized that this probably was not the best place for that in this bill, but we also wanted to include in some emphasis on students that typically participate in concurrent enrollment, and that when they originally take classes in high school, that when they get into college, sometimes they run out of Pell Grant funding. So we just want to make sure that they higher education, K through 12 education are focusing on low-income first-generation students that typically participate in concurrent enrollment and put an emphasis in what they're taking. So we ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion to L005? Rep. Puglisi. AML Puglisi. Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will answer to almost anything, so no worries there. Thank you so much. So I heard this bill in committee, and there was an amendment that was added in committee that we really liked and supported, because otherwise the advisory committee that was added in committee would have no real duties or charge. So if we're not going to have them do the work that is set out in the prior amendment that they're trying to strike, then we should have just sunsetted the committee if it doesn't have any charge. We really enjoyed having the committee, the advisory board, tasked with releasing best practices to help support students being successful in concurrent enrollment. And so I object. I support this bill. I support what we're doing here. And I was surprised by this amendment. We had a lot of discussion in committee. I supported it in committee. I support the bill. But now we object to this amendment coming on, which may change our vote on the bill. So I would ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? AML Bacon.
Thank you, members, and thank you to our minority leader. I too want to talk about committee. I was the no vote on this bill because of the that amendment that came to bring the additional duties. This committee, or I'm sorry, this task force or commission is already situated in CDE. It has existed for 10 years, so they do have charges to advise, particularly on concurrent enrollment. We also were running two other bills that talked about this, that came from the 1215 task force. Myself and the speaker ran a bill about what we're going to do with those recommendations that does pick up on the conversations that this task force has, so much so that we questioned, should the task force, I'm going to call it that's not what it is, even exist until we reconfigure concurrent enrollment, because what can they advise on if we're rebuilding the system? The other bill that came it was Senate Bill 164, where they had to figure out this issue of transferability of credits, but that is not a CDE conversation, that is a CDHE conversation, and that's why I objected to the amendment, because this task force is a CDE task force and not higher ed, and they do not have the authority to make determinations on transferability. So to say that they could advise on it was where the tension came between the agencies. So we spoke to CDE and CDHE, and we agreed that perhaps this is not the best thing for this particular task force to be doing, considering that it's CDHE's job to talk about what's transferable. They can then inform CDE, but to have this task force create best practice when it was not within their wheelhouse was the challenge, and that's where this amendment is coming from, if that helps. Sorry. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion to L005? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L005. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report, Education's committee report. Rep. Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the parts that we did leave in with the committee, this also came up from my good colleagues from the other side of the aisle that requested a sunset date. The original sunset had a in perpetuity date. That's something that we agreed with, that we needed to have some revisions and being able to look at this again. So we still have a sunset date of 2027, and then this will be reviewed at that time. So we request an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the House Bill 12, Education's committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Education's committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The committee report passes. To the bill. Rep. Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this advisory board, the Concurrent Enrollment Advisory Board, does some great work in addressing concurrent enrollment coursework for our students all across Colorado. And the board provides directives and works to allow them to address issues that have been identified and to work to improve concurrent enrollment for students, across the state. And we believe the board has an important role, and there's also some other good work, as was mentioned by the assistant majority leader just a few moments ago, that are also working on parallel tracks addressing transferability, et cetera. So we look forward to this board continuing its great work, and we urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1278? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1278 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1278 as amended passes. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1051.
House Bill 1051 by Representatives Basenecker and Morrow, also Senators Cutter and Priola, concerning the regulation of businesses that obtain a permit from the Public Utilities Commission to tow motor vehicles.
Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is truly an honor to serve with you.
I move House Bill 1051 and the Appropriations Committee report, the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report, and the Finance Committee report.
To the Appropriations Committee report.
In the Appropriations Committee, they simply agreed with the cash fund expenditure that will be necessary to implement the program, and we ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussions to the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L15 to the Finance Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
Thank you. L15 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. L15 largely incorporates mutually agreed upon stakeholder feedback, including from the PUC, related to what happens when a vehicle is towed improperly, returning it to the place of tow, and then making sure that the towing carrier is indeed responsible for the safety and security of that vehicle until it's released. These were negotiated amendments, and we ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion to L15? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L15. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the Finance Committee report. Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L16 to the Finance Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
L16 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a continuation from the previous amendment, but that we just had to split up into 2 pages. It is simply technical fixes that were requested by the PUC, and we'd ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion to L16? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L16. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Seeing none, the amendment passes. To the Finance Committee report, Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to mention briefly that in the Finance Committee, we adopted a strike below amendment that really wasn't a substantive change to the policy. It was made for drafting considerations. However, the stakeholder work on the bill has been robust, and as a result of amendments adopted in the Finance Committee, we were able to bring property owners through the Apartment Association to neutral. That felt like a positive step while making sure that ongoing, those same entities, the folks who collect rent, are actually the ones authorizing the tow. We feel like that's a really positive step forward for the state, in as much as no longer can a tow operator who would financially benefit from a tow authorize their own tows in the state of Colorado. We think that is a good amount of separation between profit and the necessary need for a tow in certain instances, and so we'd ask for your support.
Is there any further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Rep. Mabry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is truly an honor to serve with you.
I move Amendment L17 to the Finance Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
L17 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Rep. Mabry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this amendment just clarifies that the protections that we are codifying in this legislation and the protections that have been codified under our previous work regarding regulation of tow carriers are not exhaustive of other and do not create a requirement that people exhaust their remedies there first. We're not trying to say under Colorado law that this impacts an independent cause of action that you might otherwise have under the law, and I feel it's important to make that clarification.
Is there any further discussion to L17? Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a friendly amendment that makes sense. We'd ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on L17? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L17. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the Finance Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. Those in favor, please say aye. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The Finance Committee report passes. Now to the Transportations Committee report. Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so we don't actually need to pass the Transportation Committee report now because it is struck by the Finance Committee report. So we just simply move right on to the bill.
Awesome. Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1050? Seeing none, the question oh, yes. Okay. Seeing none, the question before us. Okay. Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1050? 1050. Can we go on a brief recess?
We're just to the bill.
The committee will come back to order. Are there any further discussion to House Bill 1051? Seeing none, the question before us. Yes, Rep. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There has been a lot of amendments to this bill, and one thing I don't see that I would like clarification on is this bill was between towing companies and private industry, but in our municipalities, the municipality can use the same towing company without the requirements that are stated in this bill. Just want to make sure that's correct, that we're requiring one group to do something and we're not requiring another group to do it. Do cities and municipalities have to do it? The same.
Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I want to zoom out a little bit, maybe just approach it from the other way. So the bill simply impacts non-consensual tows. And so at that point, it only applies to residential property in terms of how the bill is implemented. So the changes we are making are only to non-consensual tows for residential property. So if a municipality has residential property, they would be subject to the bill. However, otherwise, it is simply residential property. So you can think of an apartment complex, for example, where the bill is actually implementable or enforceable.
Rep. Wilson.
Thank you. Could you elaborate on city residential streets?
Rep. Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my understanding is a tow of that nature. So if I park in front of your driveway, that is not something the bill contemplates or touches. The enforcement mechanisms are the same as they are now, where that vehicle could be towed without 24-hour notice. But that's not really in the bill or at all what it contemplates.
Is there any further discussion to House Bill 1051? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1051 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1051 as amended is adopted. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1327.
House Bill 1327 by Representatives Bradley and Duran, also Senator Mullica, concerning the continuation of the regulation of physical therapy practice and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations contained in the 2023 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1327 and the Health and Human Services Report.
To the Health and Human Services Report.
Madam Chair, in Health and Human Services, we ran one amendment to make the Practice Act more efficient and language to be more up to date, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Health and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The Health and Human Services Committee report passes. To the bill. ML Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, listen, I'm going to try and talk really slow so you understand what it is. House Bill 1327 is a critical bill to ensure that physical therapists continue to be licensed in Colorado and make some important updates to their Practice Act. Physical therapists and physical therapy assistants play essential roles in the continuum of care for patients and are licensed professionals who are entrusted to provide care within the scope of their Practice Act. It is important that we regularly make updates to the Practice Act that should evolve with the profession. I ask for a yes vote, and this is a great bill.
Rep. Bradley.
Thank you. The act was created to promote public health, safety, and welfare by safeguarding Coloradans against incompetent, dishonest, or unprincipled practitioners. In the fiscal year 2021-2022, the State Board of Physical Therapy licensed and certified 11,000 PTs and PTAs. I think you all probably know a great physical therapist in your life, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Rep. Weinberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So fellow colleagues, I just want to come down and correct the record. I was in committee on this one, did some very fast reading over this bill, and come to find out that I would request this bill be read. No, I'm just kidding. Come to find out I was wrong in my vote in committee, and I wanted to make sure that I came down for the record to make sure that Representative Bradley and the majority leader knew exactly that this is a good bill. I'm fully in support of it, and I am more than honored to urge an aye vote from all my colleagues in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Rep. Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to thank my colleague from Loveland. There was a lot of testimony. It was very clear. This is a very important bill. And it's very important that you're there to listen to all the testimony so you can get a good understanding of the importance of these bills. So I'm really happy that he's come forth and realized and changed his vote. And the rest of the caucus members did vote to support this. I did have an amendment, but I'm not going to run the amendment at the request of the majority leader.
Thank you so much, Rep. Holtorf. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1327. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1327 passes. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. Seeing none, the committee will rise in report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Schiebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bills 1050 as amended, 1051 as amended, 1173 as amended, 1278 as amended, 1300 as amended, 1327 as amended, 1384 as amended, 1437 as amended, and 1452 as amended. Passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Joseph. Members, you have heard the motion. We do have an amendment at the desk. Mr. Schiebel, please read the Wilson amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Representative Wilson moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Evans Amendment, L18 to House Bill 1173, to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1173 is amended passed.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the Wilson Amendment to the Committee of the Whole and ask that it be displayed.
Committee of the Whole report, and it is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you. This amendment asks that we get the model codes for EV stations prior to mandating our municipalities to take certain measures that we don't, that haven't been set up yet, and take away the punitive and forced adoption of this prior to knowing what it's going to look like. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Holtorf.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of the amendment before you from my colleague from El Paso County. Where I'm from in the country, we call it getting the cart before the horse. Things don't roll well when you do that. I really think that all the local governments and or counties, and these rules need to be vetted, agreed on, and there needs to be this structure in place so we know what we're doing in Colorado. I'm afraid that we are getting ahead of ourselves at a time where we don't even have enough parking for all the cars. We make exceptions for parking. Now we're going to say we need the EV stations. Well, I'm going to give everybody a little hint. If I do my cowboy math, you got to have to take a car, truck, or any type of vehicle. You're going to have to park it, hook it to a charging station for a minimum of 30 minutes to an hour. That is if the grid can handle the wattage, voltage times current, and the capacity needed for the grid to maintain that for every vehicle. So I rise in support of this, and I'm going to go back and vote yes. Please join me.
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask for a no vote. We've definitely put the implementation deadlines way after the model code will be out, and I would just say that this bill is meant to solve the issue that we have, which is that we're putting a lot of carts on the road, but no horses.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of the Wilson Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Luck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Luck votes yes. Bird, Degree, Kennedy. Ortiz. Please excuse Bird, Degree, Kennedy, and Ortiz and Titone. Please close the machine. With 22 aye, 35 no, 8 excused, the motion fails. The motion before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Luck, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Luck votes no. Please close the machine. 41 ayes, 16 no, and 8 excused. The report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over the balance of the calendar to Wednesday, April 24th, 2024.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow, Wednesday, April 24th. I don't believe we have any additional announcements, introductions. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker.
Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your grace. So, fellow colleagues, today is CTA's Tech Day in the West Foyer. It's pretty much every organization throughout the state that has to do with technology. I just want to do a huge shout out to them. I would hope that all the JTC members would go and pay a visit. These are the people behind the scenes dealing with quantum, dealing with fiber, rural and urban. They're the connection on the divide. So please see them walking around today. Very, very smart people. And I would like to welcome them to the Capitol and make sure they get a shout out here in the well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Rep. Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a reminder, the Transportation, Housing, Local Government Committee, 1:30 LSBA to hear 4 Senate bills.
Representative Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Real quick, Aerospace and Defense Caucus is meeting at 11:30 in 0109. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I want to announce that tomorrow CSI is going to be here at Common Sense Institute here at the Capitol for a breakfast in front of the old State Supreme Court, and Kelly Brough and Lang Sias are going to be there, so stop by and say hi.
Representative Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just announcing that I have permission to be excused from the Majority Leader tomorrow.
So approved. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, just a gentle reminder to please sign up on the green form that we have over here if you have an announcement. Madam Speaker, with that, I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
The House will stand in recess until later today.